There is a city in America where 20 innocent people were executed. Not in a war, not by an enemy, by their own neighbors, their own friends, their own community, people who went to the same church, shared the same meals, watched the same sunsets, and then pointed at each other and said those three words that ended everything. She is a witch. Salem, Massachusetts, 1692. A city so consumed by fear that it turned on itself and devoured everything it loved. The trials lasted less than a year, but the damage lasted forever. 19 people hanged. One man pressed to death under heavy stones because he refused to enter a plea. And with every stone placed on his chest, his only response were two words: more weight. More weight. Think about that kind of courage. Think about what it costs to say those words while the stones pile up. And then think about what that kind of death leaves behind. Salem does not hide from its history. It leans into it. It celebrates it. It sells it on t-shirts and calls itself the Witch City. But beneath the tourist shops and the Halloween decorations and the smiling witches on the signs, something is not smiling back. Something is still here, still angry, still waiting for an apology that never came. Today we go inside the three places in Salem, Massachusetts, where that anger never cooled, where the innocent never rested, where the weight of what was done here still presses down on everything. Place number 1, Charter Street, Salem, the Witch Trials Memorial. It is a small space, quiet, simple, easy to walk past if you do not know what it is. 20 stone benches jutting out from a low stone wall, each bench engraved with a name, a date, and a method of execution. Bridget Bishop, hanged, June 10th, 1692. Rebecca Nurse, hanged, July 19th, 1692. Giles Corey, pressed to death, September 19th, 1692. 20 names, 20 benches, 20 human beings who died for nothing, who died because children said they saw them dancing with the devil, who died because a community was so terrified of something it could not see or understand that it started killing the people it could see. The memorial was designed with intention. The stone benches interrupt the inscriptions on the surrounding wall. The inscriptions are the actual words spoken by the accused at their trials. Words like, "I am innocent and cannot be guilty," and the benches cut right through them. Just like the executions cut through the lives of the people who spoke those words. The designer did that on purpose, to show how the trials interrupted everything, cut through everything, ended everything. Visitors who come to this memorial on quiet mornings before the tourists arrive report something that is difficult to describe. A heaviness, not just emotional heaviness from knowing the history, a physical heaviness, like the air around the benches is thicker than the air anywhere else, like something is pressing down from above. People have sat on the benches to read the inscriptions and found they cannot stand back up as quickly as they expected, like something does not want them to leave, like something wants them to sit there a little longer and understand what it felt like to be told you are guilty of something that does not exist and to know that no one is going to save you. One of the most documented experiences at this memorial happens at dusk, when the light fades and the tourists go home and the memorial is quiet. Visitors report hearing whispering, not wind, not traffic, whispering, coming from the direction of the benches, words they cannot quite make out, but the tone they can understand. It is not angry whispering, it is not threatening, it is desperate, like someone trying to tell you something very important before you walk away, and you are not quite listening closely enough. Place number 2, 310 Essex Street, the Jonathan Corwin House, known to everyone in Salem simply as the Witch House. This is the only remaining structure in Salem with direct ties to the witch trials of 1692. Jonathan Corwin was a judge, one of the men who sat at the bench and decided who lived and who died. He heard the testimony of the accusers. He looked into the eyes of the accused, and he signed the death warrants. He went home to this house after signing those warrants. He sat in these rooms. He ate his meals here. He slept here, while the people whose names were on those warrants sat in jail cells waiting, and then walked to the gallows. The house has stood here since 1675, 350 years of Salem history inside these walls. From the outside, it is striking, overhanging upper floors, dark wood, leaded glass windows that look like they are watching you, and they may well be, because inside this house, things have never been fully quiet. Staff members who work in the witch house as tour guides report things that happen when the last tour of the day leaves and they are closing up alone. Footsteps on the upper floor when nobody is up there. The sound of something being written. A quill on parchment. Scratching in the room where Corwin kept his records, like someone still working, still processing cases, still writing names. Visitors on tours have reported being touched on the shoulder in the room where Corwin conducted his examinations. A firm hand on the shoulder, not aggressive, but insistent, like someone wants your attention, like someone has something they desperately need to say and not enough time to say it. And the windows. Every guide who has worked in this building long enough eventually mentions the windows. You feel like you are being watched from the inside, not from outside, from inside the glass, as if something is standing just on the other side of those leaded panes, looking out at the street, waiting for someone to finally come and tell them it is over, that the trials ended, that nobody believed the accusers, that history judged them as murderers in robes, but nobody comes, and the watching continues through the same glass it has watched through for 350 years. And place number 3, Proctor Street, Salem. Proctor's Ledge. This is not a famous landmark. There is no gift shop here, no tour buses, no costume guides telling stories for tips. There is just a small memorial installed in 2017 after historians finally confirmed what locals had suspected for years. This is where they actually died. This is the exact location of the gallows. For 300 years, the exact location of the executions was unknown. It was assumed to be on Gallows Hill, a larger, prominent hill visible from the town. But in 2017, a team of historians, using old maps and documents and soil analysis, pinpointed the exact spot. It was not on the prominent hill. It was here, on a small rocky ledge, on the side of a slope, partially hidden by trees. A forgotten corner of an ordinary neighborhood. Houses built right next to it. A road running past it. People living their everyday lives within feet of the spot where 19 people were hanged by the neck until they were dead. And nobody knew. For 300 years, nobody knew they were living next to the actual gallows. When the memorial was installed in 2017, the historians who worked on the project said the same thing independently. That being at the confirmed site felt different from anywhere else in Salem. Not different like a history lesson feels different. Different like the air itself knew what had happened there. Like the ground remembered. Neighbors who lived beside the site before the memorial was installed reported things for years that they never spoke about publicly because they did not want to seem like they were seeking attention. Cold spots in their yards that never warmed up even in the height of summer. The feeling of being watched from the tree line at night. Dogs that refused to go near a sim section of the fence. And sounds at night in the dark when everything else was quiet. A sound like rope moving slowly against wood, back and forth in a wind that was not blowing. The memorial is there now, 19 names on 19 stones. And locals say that since the memorial went up, some of the phenomena have lessened, like the acknowledgement helped, like the naming of the names out loud and in stone gave something the recognition it had been waiting 300 years to receive. But not all of it stopped, because not everything that happened on that ledge has been fully accounted for, and some things do not rest until they are. 3 places. A memorial with 20 stone benches, where the air is heavier than it should be, and the whispering at dusk sounds like someone who needs you to understand before you walk away. A house where a judge went home to sleep after signing the death warrants of his neighbors, and where something is still scratching in the record room 300 years later. And a rocky ledge in an ordinary neighborhood where 19 people were hanged in secret and forgotten for 3 centuries, and where a rope sound still moves in the dark against a wind that is not blowing. Salem, Massachusetts. The city that calls itself the Witch City, that puts a witch on its police cars and its street signs, and sells Halloween costumes in shops that have been open since before your parents were born. But underneath all of that, underneath the tourism and the costumes and the October festivals and the ghost tours that run every single night from September through November, underneath all of it, 20 people are still waiting, not for justice. Justice is not something the dead can receive. They are waiting for something simpler. They are waiting for you to say their names. Bridget Bishop, Rebecca Nurse, Giles Corey, Martha Carrier, George Burroughs, Martha Corey, Mary Eastie, Sarah Good, Elizabeth Howe, George Jacobs Sr., Susanna Martin, Sarah Wilds, John Willard, Margaret Stott, Wilmot Red, Samuel Wardwell, Mary Parker, Alice Parker, Ann Pudater, Mary Bradbury. 20 names, 20 people, 20 lives ended by fear and lies, and a community that lost its mind for less than a year and spent the next 330 years trying to understand how it happened. Say their names, and then come back next week, because video 5 is coming, and it goes somewhere that makes Salem look like a Sunday afternoon. Subscribe now. The worst is still ahead.